waiting to establish a proper connection with my friend, Fifth Ward Alder, Mr. Desmond Yancy. There he is. Good
Hey, brother, how
afternoon.
you doing?
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. How about you?
You know, out here surviving.
Hey, man, it's better than not.
I'm my man, brother Alder Yancey Desmond is the alderman of the Fifth Ward. I reside in the fourth. Used to reside in the seventh. I've always missed the fifth, but Alder Yancey and I go back a long ways, back to the poetry era of Another Level at LitX and places like that. So it's always good to be able to have a conversation with him. And I wanted you to be on the first show of the new season of my 25th year of doing this radio show.
Whoa, congrats,
Right.
brother.
I mean, yeah. This is wild. This is wild. Yeah, it's a whole nother conversation. Before we get into super deep about city stuff and about what's happening in the fifth and all that, and you too. Where are we, if you can provide any insight, where are we right now in relation to what may or may not be happening with the Trump administration and sending either federal troops and ICE or just ICE in larger numbers to the city? Is there any information that you can impart on us today?
Information has been muddy, even coming from the feds and that trickling down to us. But if we're reading the tea leaves right, it seems like he won't be coming to Chicago with National Guard troops, but I think that there is an expectation of some expanded ICE operation. We've been hearing trickles about little actions all across the city, but it doesn't seem to be anywhere near the sort of pressure that he implied was coming over the last couple of weeks.
Do you think that's a result of folks in Chicago saying, "Don't do it"? We're not going to have it. This isn't DC. And you kind of snuck it on LA, and that didn't work because everybody stayed home for the most part. If they weren't protesting, everybody else was like, okay, no. And subsequently, those businesses in DC have suffered greatly, and the businesses in LA suffered even more. Like businesses down 50, 60% in some of those places post the occupation. You think he might have just said, maybe this isn't such a good idea and just not do it, and then just say, let's go with the immigration angle that we've been trying to push since his first turn at this?
I mean, first stab at this, man, as a South Side guy, I think that, he heard the community, Chicago standing up for itself and didn't want any parts of that. I think the LA decision from their courts that determined that this was an illegal action also played into that. DC is a little bit of a different space in that the president he's the commander over the DC National Guard, which is different than in Illinois, where the governor is the commander. And so I think a lot of it was posturing. And then to that end, it just wasn't effective, right? Yes, there was some crime was down in some spaces in DC, but the business community, the folks that he supported or that supported him really pushed back because it just wasn't helpful to have tanks, on U Street where people are trying to go hang out and have a cocktail.
Right. And real quick, there has been, and I guess this is more just Dad's talking to Mario. There's been a lot of people, not an overwhelming amount of folks, but a lot of people that are like, bring them, let them come, let the National Guard come to Chicago. I don't think those folks know what that is really like, what an occupation is like. And luckily, I don't know what that's like, but I have a strong idea what it's like if you have a city occupied by federal troops. But what's your feeling when you hear Chicagoan, particularly Chicagoans on the south and west side, where it's really going down? How do you feel when you hear somebody say, man, they should just come on, bring the National Guard to Chicago?
3 words, man. Clinton crime bill, right? 30 years ago, Black folks were saying, lock them up, throw away the key. And we saw how we've been impacted by that since then. And so this is really just a reimagination of that, where if you send the National Guard in, first off, this isn't what they're equipped to do. I have military all throughout my family, from officers to enlisted. Some were MPs, and they'll tell you this isn't what we do. We don't fight crime. We occupy and protect our interests. And this isn't particularly our interest. They don't do anything law enforcement related, and it would really just feel like, that movie The Siege with I think it was Denzel back in the day, right? Where it's just, imagine you being okay with the National Guard, patrolling your neighborhood, and you and I are old enough where we probably got kids and nephews or something who are in their early 20s and fit a description. They might not have their ID on them. They might have some weed in their pocket. They might just be doing, young folk stuff that's not particularly reckless. But as long as you got folks who are not trained in policing and giving them an opportunity to police, that's a problem. Second thing is a lot of the National Guard are going to be people from these communities anyway, right? Which also puts them in a tough position because now you got them doing so-called police work in their neighborhood when they didn't sign up for this. They signed up to get free money to go to college. And then even thirdly, one of the issues that has come up with this overwhelmingly is that, so National Guard is a part-time role with the military. If you spend more than 30 days or 30 days or more, you get promoted to what's called active duty, which gives you full-time benefits. It gives you more money, gives you more, I guess, protections under that military contract. So what happens is the president has been bringing people up for 28 days, 29 days. So they're not getting the benefit of that extended pay. And in some cases, they're making less money in their reserve duty than they would on their real job because, they're losing that income. And so this has been a thing that's been causing like all sorts of impact. Folks in the Guard don't want it. I've talked to veterans, Black veterans who think this is a bad idea. And it's, trying to get folks to understand that, bringing in more people with guns isn't going to solve our crime problem. There's some stuff that is actually working. And when we talk about how our crime stats, you can play with numbers, but you can't play with the fact that the city's safer today than it was 35 years ago.
For sure.
That doesn't feel like it, and I get that, but we're going in the right direction. If we keep doing the stuff that's working, I think we get closer to where we want to be.
We're with Alder Des Yancy. I call him Des because that's my guy. We're with Alder Desmon Yancy of the Fifth Ward. This is weird because I know you. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
bro.
If you know what I'm saying, I'm respectful of the office. It's just weird. Like when I see you, I'm like, oh, hey, what up, man? Oh, hey, hello, Alder.
Oh, you're the mayor of Hyde Park, bro. How you gonna do me like that?
Can I get my proclamation though?
I'm working on that.
You say you are. I keep hearing these rumors.
Me and Nicole are gonna figure it out.
You, Alder Lee, and Alder Prime. If the three of you don't have my back, I have no one in City Hall. I need the three of you.
Okay, we go way back from before our hairlines went back.
You dig? Say word. There are some city things happening, a lot of city things happening. One in particular caught my attention this morning. There is a lot, the city pays a lot of money to folks who have been done wrong by the police. That number is astronomical now. It's way higher than it was 10 years ago. Mayor Johnson this morning, there was a report in the Chicago Tribune that Mayor Johnson is seeking $90 million in settlement of suits tied to a corrupt cop. Just one corrupt cop?
Yeah.
We got a lot of fiduciary issues in Chicago, like a lot, that require money and attention and hands-on things. As an alder, how do you feel about stuff like this? We're talking about a $90 million settlement. That's a lot of cheese, man. That's a lot of money for one thing, when that $90 million could be used legitimately for 90 things. You know what I'm saying? What is your approach in particular? What is your stance on this? And what is your approach when it comes to matters of settlements regarding the Chicago police?
So let me give you some context before I jump right in. So before I ran for office, I was a police accountability organizer. So I spent 6 years working to build what is now called the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability, and the police district councils, which is a civilian oversight body for the Chicago Police Department that Dr. King, when he came here in 1965, was fighting for. And, you and I are the age where whether it's John Burge or some other cop that we heard in the neighborhood terrorizing folks. Um, that that was the motivation for this. Like the key motivation, the thing that kind of kicked me over the edge was the murder of Laquan McDonald. So 2016, I co-founded this coalition called the Grassroots Alliance for Police Accountability to figure out how we can hold, as a community, police accountable. Because it shouldn't be us versus them. They're members of the community too. So we got to figure out a way for us to get the public safety system that we deserve, and that's got to involve the community voice. I'm also the son of a Chicago police officer. My dad spent almost 39 years in Chicago law enforcement. So, there's a little bit of that perspective, but I've also been Black in Chicago for over 50 years. So when you take all that in perspective, there's a long history of Chicago Police Department wreaking havoc on Black folks. And so settlements are related to that and the lack of a true accountability apparatus that would have prevented these things. And so there are two particular police officers which have over 100 potential cases in front of them. And it's Sergeant Ronald Watts, who was working in the low end, and then I think it's Ronaldo Guevara, who was working in like Logan Square, Northwest side, right?
Yeah.
And because of the kind of stuff that they did on the kind of policing that they did in their communities, like there's also got to be some debt to be paid, and it's unfortunate that the city of Chicago has to write the check for these folks. But at the same time, if the city of Chicago had a true police accountability apparatus, then we wouldn't be looking at this $90 million for this month, sir. Like as you look further and further and further, looking at 100+ cases to come up for the next few years.
Mm-hmm.
This is a debt that far exceeds what any taxpayer should have to pay. But imagine if you were in prison wrongfully for 20 years, 25 years, life taken away from you, didn't spend time with your family, lost loved ones, could you imagine losing 25 years of your life for something that you didn't do? I don't know that you can give me enough money to make that feel right. So it's a tough position to be in, but it's about righting this historical wrong, and it's the right direction to go in. But the timing of this is kind of messed up when we're looking at significant budget issues with the city right now.
I mean, the infrastructure of the city. We have programs that are getting zapped by the feds. There's a lot, and now you're talking about a $90 million settlement. God bless the folks that get that bread, but a $90 million settlement for one cop.
Well, let me offer this. In the briefings that I've been in related to law settlements, the legal team is taking the position that this is where we are if we settle. If this goes to court, it is usually something that is, significantly higher, sometimes exponentially higher. And so, in the art of the deal, you got to figure out how to cut your losses and still make the kind of, remuneration that you're supposed to make. Because if it's 90, it could be 270, right? 300. Right. We're having a different conversation. And then, and oftentimes in these discussions, I'm not at liberty to say what happens in them with detail, but they offer some insight that says, no, writing this check is the right thing to do.
I love what you're doing in the 5th, man. That's that's attached to the 7th Ward, my old neighborhood, for a long time, and popping in and out of the 7th and the 5th. It's weird looking at it in that way, but being in Hyde Park and then going to South Shore and seeing just what's happening in South Shore and how South Shore is absolutely on the come up makes me feel good as a former South Shore resident, and I'm glad that you're one of those folks that's helping to make that happen. And I do appreciate you being on the show and being the first guest of the new season of 25 years. But before I cut you loose, this got set up as a result of you being on your way to see the Bears on Monday. We all saw it. How long did you stay? When did you... I know you a little bit. When did you say, you know what, I'm good, let me grab this hot dog here and beat it and hang out with my son? And or did you stay for the whole thing and do like everybody else and go, I can't believe this is happening again?
So full disclosure, I went down for the tailgate.
Stop right there.
And then watched the game at home. Right.
Makes so much sense. Okay.
But I will say, we are again third quarter, man. We're a solid squad for like
Bro.
3 quarters, and then uh, things happen. I still got some faith in the kid. We'll see how this goes. They look pretty good for the first 3 quarters.
Yeah, they did.
They're still new. He's new. We got a new coach. So,
All right. I'm not.
I say, look, my birthday's in November. My birthday is November 17th. By November, we usually know who we got with the Bears. Usually by Halloween, we know it's going to be.
You might know by next week.
Oh, brother.
You might know by
OG of little
Sunday.
faith.
No, I'm going to speak on it later. I feel like, it's okay. I'm not expecting.
What I say every year?
What?
I said, I just hope they're entertaining.
That's all.
I don't even care if they beat Green Bay anymore, because that's a wish.
Well, especially they have to beat them, but especially as I have on the Milwaukee Brewers hat, especially this year, I need them to just play football. I don't have any expectation. I had 2 people who I trust impeccably tell me to temper my expectations for this year. Next year, I'm expecting all kinds of stuff. This year, just let's see what the new coach does. Let's see how they look. It's okay. Just don't make me mad every Sunday. Give me a reason to want to listen to the radio and watch TV on Monday. You know what I mean?
Need some hope, right? At least in the first half.
A little bit. I know you're mad busy. I really appreciate you doing this, man. This means a lot to me. Thank you for being on the show. Please tell Alders, Lee, and Vasquez that I said hello. I am waiting on that proclamation. Y'all can deliver it here. We can do it in Hyde Park. We can do it downtown, whatever.
Let's figure it out, brother.
Let's do it. I'm ready. That would be something.
All right, I'm gonna see what I can do. Really, for real. We'll meet at the Cove.
Yeah, there you go. We'll figure it out. That's the best place to meet. Alder Yancy, thank you so much, man.
Respect, brother.
Right on. Peace. Alder Desmon Yancy of the 5th Ward here on News from the Service Entrance Radio Show. Yo, so that $90 million settlement, that's a lot of money.